What's up, we're Stained. You're watching MTV2, alternative music.
Is very important because I'm a guitar player and I've graced the pages of many guitar magazines, and I can firmly and officially say that to get the best sound of your amplifier, this is a very important point that many people overlook. Not only do you plug the cable into your guitar, into the jack or the input, as one would call it, the input, but you also have to plug the other side into the actual amp and turn it on, and that's how everything comes. That's where the magic starts, because some people, either they don't plug it into the amp or they don't turn the amp on, and it really doesn't, it's not as effective unless you do both steps.
But if you have tubes, should you let it warm up, or do you just go right for the jugular right out of the bat?
I don't think it matters, but I would make sure that it's plugged in and it's turned on.
With the groups out right now that have DJs, everyone has their own take on it and different things that they do. I think with us, we have like what we do, which is sampling certain scratches and building textures, and it's pretty much, it's very open-ended what you can do on turntables, because you can pretty much put any sound you want on the record and manipulate it a million different ways. So there's a lot of room to like really play with as far as DJing goes. Just a basic component of what we do. You know, guitar is very important along with every other instrument, and I think that really electronic music with our music really helps identify what we're doing, because as far as how we're approaching it from that angle, it's much more different than any other group approaches it. We have a lot of ideas that we haven't even tried out yet, and we're always coming up with more ideas as far as pushing the envelope as far as what we can do electronically. I'm really into like Aphex Twin, Square Pusher, Cruder Dorfmeister, Shadow, a lot of hip-hop heads, like everything on the Ninja Tune label. I mean, there's like so many electronic artists out there that are great, and to me it's refreshing because they're trying out new different things. I think where like certain genres of music start becoming static, electronic music is continually progressing and really pushing the envelope.
And you know, we hope to be part of that way of thinking, in the sense that like we want to be ahead of the curve. You know, we want to try and do things with our electronic samples that are innovative and interesting. Like these days, I think you can hear a lot of stuff in pop music being kind of taken or derived from electronic music that already exists, or that was done 5-10 years ago even, and it's just reaching that scene now. We don't want to be that, you know what I mean? We want to have our ideas straight and get them out there quickly.
Okay, guitars is another complex instrument. It's really important, in some cases not, but in most cases that all 6 strings are on the guitar, and often people use what's called a pick to strum the guitar with your right hand. That improves the sound of it, and then just a lot of practice, I think, makes one a really great guitar player.
You can also turn them around. You know, there's the string side and there's the non-string side. You can turn it around, and if you're lucky enough to have like a monitor box that's metal, you turn it and you hit it on the corner of it, and the guitar snaps in half.
That's a really cool effect.
That's
kids
fun, too.
kids love that.
That's also most effective if you have a pyrotechnics crew that can actually create explosions and time them with the smashing.
Yeah,
of
so
the
like when you
guitar.
smash it, it goes boom. It really increases the effect of the actual guitar breaking. It's cool.
I don't know if it's original, but it's fun.
I don't think we could really be described as heavy metal. I think some fans of heavy metal might enjoy certain elements of our music. Some of us in the band were more into heavy metal growing up, I think, than others. We were all kind of into different kinds of music, but there was kind of like there was like a circle of bands that we all kind of, we all were fans of and enjoyed listening to. So
Chester and Brad were into heavy metal.
yeah, they were the heavy metal
and they're
guys.
not here, so our answer is no.
I like to classify ourselves not as heavy metal, but death metal.
Yeah,
I think
we're
that's
way
a lot more appropriate.
We're just as
hardcore
more
than that.
hip hop and electronic as we are death metal.
Lyrics are extremely important to us. We try to be as honest as possible with our lyrics, and when we talk about emotions and different situations that happen throughout the course of anybody's life, it's important for Mike and I because not only are there two singers, but we also live two different lives. So when it comes to lyrics, we have to kind of let the music evoke a feeling that we're in us, and then we talk about it. And then we kind of create stories like fables or whatever, like with moral, with a moral or whatever like that, and we try to base it off of experiences that we've had, so that it's not fake, But at the same time, we want everybody to be able to relate to it. I think that the fact that there are two singers kind of really helps us do that, because it does like depersonalize everything, and it kind of makes it more general. And that's another reason why we don't use any vulgarity on the album, is because when you say, something like, fuck that, or something like that, there's the whole underlying story underneath those two words, what exactly is going on, and so we delve deeper into, that little phrase and talk about what that is, rather than just kind of selling it short of what it really is about. So lyrics, in that kind of sense, are very important to us.
Ozzy was, I didn't really get a chance to meet him, unfortunately. I mean, I got to see him and say hi, but not really hang out with him. But I wasn't ever the hugest Sabbath fan, but I think like every band would want to be able to stay, what's the word? Relevant, like Sabbath has through the years, like that's the goal, would be to be able to still be playing shows, 20, 30 years later, and have it still mean something to people and have it still be significant. So in that right, I don't think it's, Ozzy's had his career separately, but then there's also Sabbath, which is another kind of mainstay and been influential on so many groups.
I definitely think that a person like Ozzy Osbourne is very important to music, because before he went off on his own, he kind of has had two huge pinnacles in rock music. One was with Black Sabbath, and Black Sabbath really was like the first band to really use those heavy chords, a lot of space between. They were very good technically, but they didn't flash it off like a lot of bands were doing at that time. Like bands like Led Zeppelin and guys like Eric Clapton. They were very technical, and they liked to show how technically good they were. And they really kind of broke it down to like bare essentials, and it really gave it a raw sense. And I think that changed rock and roll a lot. And then when he went off and did his own thing, he showed how technically good he could be, especially with a great guitar player like Randy Rhoads. And that, once again, changed the way rock and roll music was listened to and performed. And to have that type of influence, not only once, but twice in one's career, I think is something that everybody would really want to achieve. And I think that he is a staple in rock and roll.
Everything you say to me,
dynamics, then you wouldn't, like the big parts where it becomes really loud wouldn't hit as big as they do. And there's like our music, you know, we like to explore like all the, you know, from the really heavy parts of music to really quiet stuff where it shows more of an emotional side, or you know, that kind of stuff in music. Basically, certain parts of the set, you know, when it's quiet or Mike's doing like rapping a verse over like a string background, we can kind of like, you know, bring the audience in and really get them to listen to the lyrics and understand what, you know, what we're saying. And then there's the part where we want everybody just to get in a mosh pit and go crazy, you know. That's the other element. So definitely it brings like a well-rounded show, I think, when we explore all those different avenues.
I think we're all really aware of the different bands that have mixed it, and I think most people are at this point, hopefully. But to say that they're both inherently kind of aggressive, I don't really agree with, because obviously there's variety in every genre.
I think great music in general comes out of tension. You know, like if whoever the songwriter is, if they're feeling frustrated or some kind of frustration with a certain issue and they let that out in their music, that really conveys a lot of soul, and I think that's something that we try to do in our music also.
We were feeling, when we got started, we were feeling that we wanted these things to come together in a certain way that wasn't happening, and that was our tension. That was the thing that really drove us to write these songs, and we still feel that there's a certain that this niche that we've kind of delved into, that we've made our own, is not being experimented with as much as it could. And so we do have room on the next album to hopefully just go in there and do some more work and broaden it out and make it a little more mature, a little bit, hopefully do some more experimenting.
Rhythm is the backbone of everything, pretty much. I mean, for us, I mean, I play drums, and then we incorporate like electronic stuff, which is also in rhythm with the drums.
Rhythm based.
Most
I mean,
of the
like
time.
I think we start a lot of the songs anyway with rhythmic ideas from samples of drums and guitar, but our guitar is also kind of a little bit more, especially in the verses and things like songs like Points of Authority. There's a lot of rhythm in there.
I think that life in general is on a pulse. The earth is on a pulse that rotates in around the sun to a rhythm.
Before we go any further, we need to let everybody know that Joe hasn't gotten much sleep, so he's going to be really funny today. Not that was funny, that was very serious.
It's an art form. Is it? What do you
Yeah. Well, I mean, musical art form, whatever, you know, it's like turntablism. It's funny because you could even it's more than just audio, you know. There's a lot of style in the way it's performed too, so that performance is important as
Okay, we started out obviously underground because no one knew who we were, and like a lot of the music we listen to is underground, but just based on the amount of touring and work that we've put into what we're doing, we're obviously continuing to grow to the point where not just people who like underground music know who we are. So in terms of our sensibilities and what we're into, they're still the same, but we're definitely getting to the point where Linkin Park is becoming much more of like a household name, for good or for bad.
Everything you say to me is one step closer to the edge, and I'm about to break.
I think there's two types of role models. One that people just will look up to and kind of follow them regardless of what they're doing, and two being people who are actively, you know, want people to follow them. I don't think we're necessarily, I think people like will look to us and you know, whether it's musically or whatever, just kind of watch what we do, but I don't think we necessarily want to be role models in any other sense besides like in the music we've done, as Chester was saying. I think that the positive element that you can easily glean from Hybrid Theory is that Chester and Mike are totally honest in their lyrics, and people can relate to it because, you know, whether it's they listen to it, they might have not gone through the exact same experiences, but they've felt those same emotions. They understand where that is, and they understand what they're going through, and through that, you know that you're not alone. You know that you're not going through something by yourself. You know, people out there have shared that same sentiment, whether it's happiness, whether it's anger, whether it's sadness. Those are common emotions that everyone shared, and that, you know, you're not isolated, you're not alone in that. And so hopefully that message can come through.
Yeah. I think that I would have been more disappointed if he'd stayed in the band and shaved his head. That would have been a lot more disappointing. I think for me, like, Rage Against the Machine is another one of those bands that really kind of added something different and new to music. So anytime that